Hey guys, our objective for today is I can identify and explain elements of poetry and I can read poetry fluently. I know I'm successful when I can write a response that demonstrates understanding of the text, and I can identify elements of poetry using the word stanza, rhyme, and rhyme pattern. It's important for me to know how to ask and answer questions because I can identify the elements of poetry and I can better understand the key ideas that the poet wants to share with us. So we're going to be reading poetry, and each poem that we read is a little bit different, but like stories, poems have certain features or elements that are common to many poems. So one of the things that how poetry is written is that they're arranged in stanzas or groups of lines. So they kind of look like your paragraphs, what we would see in a story, but they're called stanzas. We have a type of poem called an acrostic poem, and it's where a specific letter from each line may be read together to spell out a keyword, and there's an example of it in our reading. Poets often use rhyme and other sound devices to be playful and to help readers notice certain ideas. And many poems use a special rhyme pattern or rhyme scheme at the ends of the lines to follow that pattern. So some of the things that we'll be looking at is the poetry structure. And like I said, we have stanzas, which are groups of lines, and then a line break is where each line of poetry ends. We have rhyming words, so words that have the same ending sounds at the ends of the lines or of the stanzas. Rhythm is a pattern of stressed syllables that create a beat. So usually think about rhythm in music class. Imagery, those are the words that create images that can appeal to your senses. So we talked about last week about describing things that you can see, you can smell, you can taste and touch. Those are your senses. A lot of times in poetry, they will use imagery to get you to imagine those things. Alliterations are where they use the same sound or letter at the beginning of words or lines. One of my favorites is onomatopoeia, and it is a word that imitates the sound it represents, so like buzz and thud. And then sometimes in poetry, you will see repetition where lines or words are repeated to stress the importance. Okay, so we're going to be successful when we can use the word stanza, rhyme, and rhythm, rhyme pattern in your response today. So those are the three words that we're going to be focusing on today. All right, so looking at this, we're going to identify parts of a poem. Now, on this small poem right here, I can see that it is broken down into two stanzas. So two groups of lines. They are separated by a little bit of a space. So these four lines make one stanza, or think about it as a paragraph. And then each of these has four lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is pointing to the refrain, and we didn't use the refrain in our last poster, but we did talk about repetition. So I'm going to read this, and you can hear how this line is repeated. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreamers go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So this one is talking about making sure that you keep your dreams alive, because if not, then you will have some things that just don't work, that are just negative. Okay, so here's another poem. It's called My Neighbor's Dog is Purple. My neighbor's dog is purple, its eyes are large and green, its tail is almost endless, the longest I have seen. My neighbor's dog is quiet, it does not bark one bit, but when my neighbor's dog is near, I feel afraid of it. My neighbor's dog looks nasty, it has a wicked smile. Before my neighbor painted it, It was a crocodile. Ooh, not a dog that I would want to play with. So in this poem, I want to circle the stanzas. Remember, the stanzas are the groups of lines. So when I look at this, there are 3 stanzas in this poem. I have 3 groups of lines. All right, so when we look at the way that poems sound, we often include rhyme, although not every poem has to rhyme. I think that's one of the first things we learn as little kids is that poems rhyme, and they don't always have to. They can, but not always. So rhyme is the repetition of 2 or more words that sound similar, and it's at the end of the word. So we have laugh, staff, half, graph. Now, if you look at these, none of these words end the same way, like are spelled the same way, but they all have the same sound at the end. They all say af, laugh, staff, half, graph. So we use this rhyme to have that playful effect where we are using the words to make it more pleasing. So I have a short rhyme poem that has rhymes here. I am a little snowman, round and fat. Here are my mittens, here is my hat. Add a little scarf and a carrot nose. I stand so tall when the cold wind blows. So if you look at that poem, fat and hat rhyme. They have the same ending sound. Nose and blows rhyme. They have the same ending sound. They're not spelled the same, but they have the same ending sound. So here's another kind of fun poem. Louder than a clap of thunder. Louder than a clap of thunder, louder than an eagle screams, louder than a dragon blunders or a dozen football teams, louder than a full 4-alarmer or a rushing waterfall, louder than a knight in armor jumping from a 10-foot wall, louder than an earthquake rumbles, louder than a tidal wave, louder than an ogre grumbles as he stumbles through his cave, louder than stampeding cattle, louder than a canyon roars, louder than a giant's rattle, that's how loud my father snores. I would hate to have to sleep near my dad if he snored that loud. So looking at this poem, I want to figure out how many stanzas. Stanzas are groups of lines. So this poem has 2 stanzas. Next, I want to underline the rhyming pairs, so the words that rhyme together. Remember, when we're talking about rhyme, it's usually 2 or more, and we call those rhyming pairs. There are quite a few rhyming pairs in there. I hope you heard it when it was read. So the first one, thunder, blunder. Those both end in the same ending sound. Screams, teams have the same ending sound. 4-alarmer and armor, they both have that more. Waterfall, 10-foot wall. Fall and wall rhyme. Rumbles and grumbles. Wave and cave. Cattle and rattle. Roars and snores. So all of those words, the pairs have rhyming sounds. They sound the same at the end. All right, so we talked about how we would be finding a rhyme pattern. So we know that patterns are ways that things repeat. So in rhythm or in poems, they have a rhyme pattern. So the pattern of rhyme used in poems, they can be written out in letters. So sometimes you have an AABB pattern where the A's would rhyme. So you would have rhyming word, and then the next line would end in a rhyming word. Then you would have another word, and the next line would have a word that rhymes with that pattern. So sometimes you have an ABAB. So the first line and the third line would rhyme. the second line and the fourth line would rhyme. Or you could have A, B, B, A. There are all kinds of different rhyming patterns that you could have. These are just some of the common ones. So for example, the lion sat under the tree. He was so ready for a snooze. He looked all around him to see. All was quiet, nothing to lose. So when I go through and I find the rhyming words, I can see tree and see, and then I can see snooze and lose. This rhyming pattern has tree and see in the first and third line, so we would say those are A's, and then snooze and lose, so we would call those B's, and those are in 2 and 4. So our pattern is A, B, A, B. All right, let's try one together. On the right side, I Am Roaring Like a Lion by Jack Pulaski. I am roaring like a lion, I'm croaking like a frog, I'm shrieking like monkey, I'm grunting like a hog. I'm snorting like a buffalo, I'm whooping like a crane, my mother's making liver, I thought I should complain. Okay, so I'm going to go through my steps and identifying how many stanzas. This one has 2, and I'm going to underline the rhyming patterns. So I have frog and hog rhyme, crane and complain rhyme. I'm going to look at the rhyming pattern. So in this one, lion would be A, frog would be B, monkey doesn't rhyme with anything, so it's going to become C, and then hog rhymes with frog, so I'm going to go back to B. So we have A, B, C, B. Same thing with at the bottom. Buffalo becomes A, crane becomes B, liver becomes C, but then complain rhymes with the B word. So my pattern is A, B, C, B. So my response that I could have would be, there are 2 stanzas, and the rhyming words are frog and hog, and crane and complain. The rhyming pattern is A, B, C, B. So we're going to look at this thinking about our structure. This is in your book on page 151. It's called Top Secret. Top Secret from Book Speak, Poems About Books. Describe your desires and they become mine. I'm a treasure box where feelings can shine. All thinkers need pages where dreams can take flight. Reveal all your secrets, 1 entry per night. So as I'm looking this, I can see that I am going to identify the stanzas. So I want you to circle the stanzas in your book and then underline the rhyming words in your book. And then identify the rhyming pattern in your book. So when I go through this, I can see that I have 1 stanza, and then I can see the rhyming words mine and shine, and then I can see flight and night. And then my rhyming pattern is going to be A because mine, A because shine rhyme with it. Flight is 1 word, but then the next line has a completely new word, all, so that becomes C. And then night and flight, so go back to B. So the rhyming pattern is A, B, or A, B, C, B. You guys are going to be doing this on your own, but I want you to look at something very quickly. So what's unusual about this first letter of each line, the D, the I, the A, the R, and the Y, they are all capital, like bold letters. And when you spell that word out, it becomes diary. This poem is an acrostic. That means that it spelled the word at the beginning of the line. It also gives me a clue what this poem is going to be about. It's about a diary. Thinking about this, why did the poet use rhyme in this poem? Rhyme makes the poem more fun. It's pleasing to the ear, and it ties the poem all together. All right. This could be another example that I'm going to skip through. The answer that you guys would come up with answering those 3 questions, there are 4 stanzas. A few of the rhyming words were please, knees, thing, wing, chin, skin, and the pattern was A, B, A, B. So if I just looked, here's my 4 stanzas. And then I'm just looking at that first stanzas, please and knees, thing, and wing. So I have A, B, A, B. All right. Your job will be to answer the question. Read the poem and tell me how many stanzas there are. Circle them on your page, underline the rhyming words, and then identify the rhyming pattern. So you're going to be doing this in your Kami page. Some other things that you'll be doing is looking at the vocabulary words. You will have another describe activity, and then you will be looking at synonyms and antonyms.